Hello, beautiful people. This is Marisa Anglade. Today, to just talk. Not to give you the tea, but to just talk and share. So, I remember thinking I was going to do a podcast called Who Child? Because life be lifing. And this is one of those moments of Who Child. It has been a year for me from March of last year to April of this year. And we're only in May. And a lot has transpired. I had been under a lot of stress, especially the last 3 months. February is when it started for this year to get worse. And the stress had just peaked. The emotional stress that I had encountered. And first, it was, I think what started, it was going through perimenopause, menopause, the mental health part of it, the emotional, mental part of dealing with um, perimenopause, and so there was the mental health component of it, of feeling anxious or stressed, and not knowing that's what it was because the same time that that was going through that, I had my first placement for the year. And so it's like, oh my gosh, maybe I was not meant to have two children. Or maybe I was just meant to have one. But it wasn't until some time later that I did some digging and speaking to someone. They said, oh, that sounds like menopause. If you're starting to not see your cycle, that's what you're experiencing. I'm like, what? And of course, I had to go towards treating that. And I'll share that in another video. But so as that was okay, I ended up getting two more children. And that was a lot. That was a lot. But we were making it happen. But a lot. I mean, I dealt with a lot from me getting the two other children that were for adoption. The first one was going to go home. It just that it was a temporary placement, and the other two was going to be a more permanent placement because they were up for adoption. I just thought that when they said that, it would be done right away. Who would have thought I would have gone through what I've gone through just to have the kids removed from our home? Whew. So just getting them in our home, dealing with the person that had them before that felt like she should have, like we were going to co-parent. And I'm like, no, this is not the Brady Bunch. So yeah, I didn't know full circle something was going to happen with that. But a lot has happened. Last time I came on this video, I talked about adopting two more children, and we were going to be a family of five. At the time I did the video, we were a family of six because we still had the little girl that was our temporary placement, and we had the ages of 2, 4, 4, and 5 at the time, and then it switched to 2, 4, 5, 5 because my son had just turned 5, and then Addie ended up no longer being at our home, and so we were down to the only the two children. I said her name. Anyway, down to the two children left, and who were going to adopt. And as soon as it got closer to now transitioning to adoption, after all the things that needed to happen before that, we had a new caseworker come in. So the children that we got came from another county. So that person who was the caseworker was no longer the caseworker. Now had been transferred to my county as the actual people dealing with the case. Although we had other people from my county, because we had another child that belonged to our county where I live, they would also see the child and see the children and report to the caseworker in another county. Because we had people, I was so over people coming to my home. But anyway, so the caseworker in the other county gave me the permission after asking and seeing some concerns about the child that I had we were going to adopt, which was going to be in a couple of months, to allow me to pull her away from public school online and to be better to do one-on-one homeschooling, which she thrived because she had that one-on-one attention versus the public school online, which was stressful, and her anxieties and just understanding the trauma that kids have, the learning problems that kids have, some of them due to the trauma, especially moving from one home that they knew for 2.5 years to another home, and school just started immediately after. So anyway, I was given the okay to homeschool, and her reason was because I was going to adopt them anyway. I'll be adopting them anyway. Cool. Where I went wrong, that I wasn't clear with the people in my county that's what we were doing. So when this new caseworker coming at the tail end of the case getting to adoption, because we had the children about 9 months, she came in the last 2 months of us having them for 9 months. And that's when, when it said that's when hell broke loose, in a sense. So when she found out one of the kids were being homeschooled, and wanted to take them out and put them in the public school, we had a heated argument. Oh, it was, my mama bear kicked in and all that. We went back and forth, the same level she gave me was the same level I met her, and she gave me what she needed to tell me about this law, and I told her Georgia law, and we went toe to toe, and I've done my research, and not knowing that argument was going to be used against me. And that's what opened a can of worms to make sure that she showed who she was. I never saw it coming. Fast forwarding, we had a meeting, and she twisted my words in the argument and left her part out. And I put her on blast in front of her coworkers, and where she, in 2 occasions, did not tell the full truth of how the conversation went on two different incidents. And of course, they took up for her. They gave an excuse for her to justify what she did, to put it on me. And I'm like, I threw my hand up. I'm like, what? I give up. Like, oh, there's nothing I can say here. Because they don't know me. They know her. Their colleague. So they backed her up. So I said, okay. And so I made a last comment. And I think that last comment was what made her come after me harder. Come after removing the kids harder. And from my comment on, let's say Thursday, led to a phone call letting me know that the kids may be removed on Monday. Not thinking that was going to happen, that happened. And it was a shock. It was a shock to my husband. It was a shock to me. It was a shock to the kids. It was just a shock. And a person that, I guess in a sense, want to be able to control every aspect of her life, found out really quick that I had no control. And a lot of things, not just in them being removed, on how I run my home when the children belong to DFACS. Not me yet. And so when they were removed from my home, I cried, I screamed, I yelled. And it brought me back to the moment I cried and I screamed and I yelled when I realized I was suppressing grieving and fertility. It just brought me right back there. I didn't have control over that, and I didn't have control over that situation that just happened. And it was hard. Oh man, the last several months went from not so good to just worse. And when you thought it couldn't get worse, it got worse. And so that was a lot. That was a lot of emotional stress. To one of my friends was so concerned about me that she didn't want me to end up having a terminal health issue because my stress was so long. And it's like I almost cried every day. Literally pretty much every day before it happened. Just saw where this lady was going with things. But again, never thought it would end to the kids no longer being with us. And it showed me so many, that this experience taught me so many things, and it was humbling too. It showed me that, again, I can't control everything. It showed me where I operated out of fear. It showed me where I lacked faith. And it showed me there's times you have to know when to just be quiet. I went from, after they've been removed from our home, being so worried about what's going to happen to them now. What's going to happen to my son? Not about me. And I was told a couple of times, twice, that I can remember, Marisa, you got to take care of yourself. Because all my energy was the kids, the kids, the kids. And I thank God for my husband, who was a great partner and tag team in helping taking care of the kids. But all of it was making sure they're okay. I want to make sure they're okay. I want to make sure they feel love. I want to make sure they feel wanted, so that they never go around thinking they didn't want me. And I was told to make sure you put your oxygen mask first before you put on the kids. Because if your oxygen mask is on, you can take care of them. But if you're not good, you can't put the oxygen mask on them, and they're not able to put it on you. Like, little kids are not meant to take care of the parents. The parents are meant to take care of them. But you got to take care of yourself first. And I did, and was neglecting that. And I every time I got back on, getting back on it, something would give me a blow and take me back off, and it was related to DFACS. And I realized I had allowed what they were doing in my life was affecting how I took care of myself as well. The stress that came with that this time around. So I was concerned, but when I was made aware that these children were back at the home they were initially, that they had been with the family 2.5 years, they were back there. That gave me some relief, because I knew the children, I believed, enjoyed being in that home. That's all they knew from the time they were no longer with their mom. They were with this family. That family didn't want to adopt. And I think this time around they will. And I'm just believing that maybe they were praying to have these children back. And so that gave me peace. The second thing that gave me peace was seeing my son not showing really any signs of, like just depression. Or I was so concerned. Somebody told me, no, don't be concerned, because my parents fostered, and when they left, we were fine, we were good. And this is one that was also an only child. And so I'm like, but I wanted to see for myself. So I would check in with my son, have conversations with him, make sure he was all right. But we had play dates. We had our neighbor's grandson play with him after he came from school. We went out to, we have a membership with the Kids Museum. We have a membership with the Seaquarium, doing things like that. My husband would take him to go ride his bike. They ride bikes together, take him to the park when he got off of work, if he got home early enough, or on Sunday. But so just giving him, making attention, just checking up on him, just watching him, and having conversations with him, and seeing that, oh, he's okay. Now, he do be asking all the time for somebody to come over to play, but I'm like, I have to be the playmate again. But seeing that he was okay, knowing that the kids were at a place that didn't have to start all over again, basically, but back in somewhere they were familiar, gave me peace. And I hadn't had peace like I have now in the last year. So I thank God for being on this side. I thank God for all my friends that prayed for me, that kept me in prayer. I think all of that gave me a peace that I haven't felt in so long. And God ministered to me in so many ways. And there was lessons learned. I felt like I was going through a Job experience. I didn't realize that's what I felt like until someone said, "Oh, it sounds like you're going through a Job experience," because it was one thing after another. You ever had that? Where it was one thing after another, like it just keep coming. When you finally getting okay with this situation, another situation come in. When you say it can't get worse in this situation, then it got worse, and it was like, man, can I get a break? And so it definitely felt like that. But on the other side, he was blessed. And I feel on the other side, I am blessed with peace. I am blessed with the lessons that I learned from myself, the growth that I had attained from it. Even though as hard as it was, at the time it felt like it was hard and it felt like it was ongoing and that it would never end. But it was after it all, like, oh my God, it was good that I went through this. This is how God ministered to me. I had sent out a text to all the women that were praying for me from my church and friends. And I said, I feel like David, who prayed for his son that God would not allow him to die. And he fasted and he cried and he prayed and he mourned and he pleaded that God would keep his son alive and make him well. And into no avail. He finds out that his son didn't make it. When he was aware that they were going to bring him news that his son had passed. After that, he got up, washed himself, I believe. I don't have the Bible in front of me. And he ate. And they're like, that don't make no sense. You know, people don't know what you've been through and why you doing what you're doing. It don't make no sense. And so they always they're going to question. And I couldn't understand why I had so much peace after everything was done. And so there was nothing that I could do. And God was letting me know, you had pleaded and prayed. And I did ask, okay, Lord, whatever your will is, whether on this side or that side, I trust you. And I hadn't prayed that before, but I prayed it. And then they were removed from our home. And after I cried and mourned, I had peace. And so God was letting me know, now it's time to take care of yourself. That was one. The other scripture he brought to my memories of Joseph, when his brothers were made aware of who he really was. Not just the person that helped them get food and the right-hand man of the king at that time, the Egyptian king at the time, Pharaoh, I think it was. But he was their brother. And the guilt and the shame they must have felt knowing like, oh my God. And he's like, no, you good. You good. What you meant for evil, God meant for good. And that scripture also continued to say, for the saving of many. Through that experience, many people were saved from the famine. Their brother did something that was wrong, that was evil. But God worked it out for the saving of many, for his good. And he also said, it was also said in that scripture that God would take care of his little ones. God ministered to me and let me know that what I think this lady did was evil. This caseworker, the new one that came in at the tail end of it, the one I had this blow up argument with, what I might have felt she did was for evil, was really for everybody's good. And I had to just sit in that. Because I wanted to text that lady and say, you ruining people's lives. And all I heard was, how you know? How you know? And I realized she was just playing her role. There's people in your life that are just playing their role for an outcome that is meant to happen. For me, it was not just the outcome of the kids not being at home, it was the lessons that I learned from this. It was what God was trying to teach me as well, to have more faith, to not operate out of fear. Don't worry about the consequence. Humility. And I know one day we will see those children again. And they will let us know the impact that our family made on them. And how they're so grateful for it. And what we showed them. And what we exposed them to. Nature. Healthy eating. Traveling. Love. Kisses. Hugs. And God. It was rough, I'm not gonna lie. But on the other side, I still have peace knowing God is in control. And he said in that scripture, he'd take care of his little ones. So even when something feels like the worst thing that could possibly happen, somewhere, even though we can't see it yet, he's working it out for his good. And so like David, I can say it was good that I was afflicted. Because now it just makes me want to be closer to God, and I have a new lease in life. Take it slow. You're not guaranteed nothing. I was sure that we were going to have these children. I was sure of what my life was going to look like. And here we are, totally opposite of what I was foreseeing a couple of months from now. And just like that, everything just went south. And you're like, wow, nothing's guaranteed. Nothing on this side of earth is guaranteed. What you expect today can just vanish like that. Hopes, dreams, people. And so I call the situation I went through like a near-death experience. And where people feel like they just want to have a new leaf of life for what they went through. It was a traumatic experience. I think I'm still somewhat healing from it, even though I had peace. Just the other day, we saw their picture on our church screen when they were showing pictures of, they're part of a club, when like a Boys and Girls Scout club, but connected to our church. And we saw their picture smiling and singing. And oh my God, it hit. And I that day and the next, I cried some more. But I still have peace. I still have peace. And I know there'll be more storms to come in life. But to have peace in the storm is such a beautiful thing. You don't like the storm. You don't want the storm. You don't need the storm. Or you don't feel like you need the storm. But you have peace in the storm. Through all of this, lessons that I had to learn about myself, I realized how much closer I need to just hang on to Jesus. And with all of that, no matter what I felt, it didn't consume me to the point where it destroyed me. Like what that saying is, what don't break you, make you stronger? Something like that. But anyway, so we're down to one child. Okay, thank you. Wow, where'd you get those? Okay. From a family of 5 to a family of 3. Okay. You can bring it. Go ahead and bring it. Come. You want to? I'm saying bye-bye to the people. You want to come say bye? And it's so funny. The first process, the first time I went through to get through the adoption process, it was so much smoother. It was so much smoother that when people tell me the horror stories of defects, I couldn't relate. I could not relate. And the second go round was like, yes, we can. You're gonna have it, not me. The second go round, like, this is what people was talking about.
Because you don't like leaves?
Not in my sandwich. This is what they're talking about. Now I can sympathize.
You like leaves in your salad?
Not those leaves. Go ahead and put it outside.
No.
Yes. Go put it outside, sweetie.
Can I bring
No, right there.
What part is your order? Bye-bye.
But yes.
Bye-bye, guys.
But I thank God
Bye-bye, guys.
for what we do
Bye-bye,
have.
guys. Bye-bye, people.
And we continue to pray
Bye-bye,
for
people.
everybody.
Bye-bye, people. Bye-bye,
And know that
people.
God is in
Bye-bye,
control.
people.
Not me.
Bye, people.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.